until now, I never realized that having someone like you by my side could make me feel at peace. And I never want that feeling to end.
As much as the internet loves a disaster, Starfield wasn't bad. It just wasn't good. It's the little things that can be sink or swim, and Starfield missed a few too many of them. Small points, however, are easily fixed, and while it'd be great if Bethesda stepped up and did that for once, it fell to modders to clean up the experience. And they did. A year in, modded Starfield is worth playing, and these mods are the mods you'll need. No need to take notes here, the mods are listed in the description, and if you're new to modding, I'll give you the quick of it at the end of the video. Let's get started. First up, we're going to overhaul combat. Vanilla combat was passable, but passable won't get you playing the game. We're going to get rid of the health bars. Not sure who at Bethesda thought they were making Borderlands here, but in Starfield, they just look silly. My method of choice is better HUD. True to its name, it also cleans up the HUD a bit. I chose it because, being an all-in-one, I anticipated less mod conflicts, and I didn't come across any. There are other options if you want to shop around, but this one worked with the mod list I have here, so it's my first pick. So with the health bars gone, how are we going to know how many millions of hit points that mouse has left then? Well, next we have to get rid of the whole damage sponge aspect of combat. I use the mod Sponge Cop. In the base game, every enemy gets an additional 20 hit points every level. Sponge Cop lets you set that to 10, 5, 3, or nothing at all. The forums tend to lead towards the 5, I like the 3. But wouldn't that make it too easy? Well, it would. Except it also allows you to do the same thing to yourself. And this does to Starfield what Survival did to Fallout 4. No more slugging matches. Combat is quick and deadly. Aim those shots and keep your head down. Be real careful when you're storming a ship. At close range, a shotgun will absolutely drop you. Well, unless that enemy happens to be 40 levels lower than you, which they won't be, because you're also going to install minimum enemy levels. Make sure you're not going to see any level 1s when you're level 30. And because things are going to get hairy, you'll want enhanced player health bar, which goes from green to yellow to red as you lose health, so you'll know just how much it hurt to take that laser blast to the face. For the record, it was a lot. You'll still need to balance the game to these changes though, and thankfully this is something Bethesda have made progress on. If you haven't been on since launch, these are the current, and much improved, in-game difficulty settings. I recommend setting enemies to very hard, and yourself to normal. I'm not the best gamer out there, but I'm no slouch either. I found that with these settings, I had to actively seek cover. I wasn't able to just storm through waves of enemies, but I also wasn't dying randomly with no idea what happened. Tweak it to your liking. You know, every publisher loves to say that cosmetics don't affect gameplay? Well, screw that. I want to look good while I'm scrapping it up. To that end, I recommend Starfield Hair and Beards, which adds a playable droid race. Well, no, it adds hair and beards. Good ones. As for clothes, I'd go with KZ aggregation of scraps. It adds a very large assortment of very cool clothing options. Just be aware that a few of them use a very liberal interpretation of the word clothing. But don't worry, they won't show anything too not safe for work unless you're using a nude mod, such as Starqueen for the textures and ZBB for the model. I suppose I'm supposed to say I heard this from a friend or something, but it's 2024 and I think we've gotten past the whole nudity is bad thing. Use them or don't, I'm just telling you they work with the mod list. I hope you forgive me for not putting footage of those mods in a YouTube video though. What also isn't in this video is color filters. That's because they're kind of ugly. Neutral LUTs keeps everything looking clean. Well, as clean as it's supposed to look at least. I remember the first time I played Fallout 3 without that green filter. Well, get ready to have that epiphany again. Kinda wish developers got the memo on this one ages ago. Can we just be done with these? Next up, the economy. I'm not against looter games and I'm not against crafting, but it has to do something for the game. I'm not sure Bethesda even realized you don't have to put these things in games. Elden Ring's inventory system was, please don't ask me where I'm hiding all this stuff, and it didn't suffer for it. Now we're not going to go that far here, but let's have it be something you can get to once every few hours, instead of it being half the time you play the game. First, better merchants lets you substantially increase the number of creds floating around at merchants. It was never really the case that you couldn't flog everything in vanilla, but it meant slogging across every settled planet in the game to do it. Now, you'll do it less often, and when you do, it'll take less time. And to speed up your time while actually at the store, Burden Me Not makes most of the small, worthless items not show up as items to be picked up. Yeah, you'll lose out on all those 2-credit pencils, but unless you want to set up a diorama, Streamline the hoovering with this one. Next, we'll make settlement building a bit less of a chore. Unlike Fallout 4, there's basically zero incentive to having settlements in Starfield, and if you do decide to engage with it, the number of different crafting components out there means you're always having to warp off to pick up a single quantum toilet seat that you forgot, only to return and find out that you didn't get the right iron star toilet paper holder. This might have more gravitas if the hunting grounds to find these components wasn't just, stores. So screw it. Build outposts with credits lets you build outposts with credits. This is a settled galaxy after all, why couldn't you just have the stuff delivered? Just ignore crafting components in the worlds altogether, and when it's time to upgrade your weapon or your suit, just make a shopping list, and the next time you're offloading loot, pick that stuff up. Of course, you could just ignore outposts altogether and live on your ship. Your 4-floor, 10,000 square foot battleship. Some people say it's not the size of your ship that matters, it's how you use it. Those people tend to have small ships. Okay, so yes, technically the best possible ship in the game is actually going to be something small like this one, but screw the min-maxing. If I can have a battleship, I am going to have a battleship. And now you can. You'll need 3 mods. First, Ultimate Shipyards Unlocked unlocks everything. I mean, everything, not just ship parts. You can slap on items from space stations, gigantic sections from story ships, everything. It doesn't work at your settlement landing pads, but it does work in every city. It also means you don't have to planet hop looking for a specific part. You don't have to use the M-class generator that produces 65 units of power, but it makes this juggernaut turn like a Miata, and I'm guessing you guys will give in to the temptation like I did at least once. Next time I'll play by the regular rules. I swear. Next, we have to deal with the random door placement from vanilla that leads to the maze-like layouts anything bigger than a van gets burdened with. Place doors yourself lets you choose where the doors line up between modules on your ship. You want to have more than one door connecting 2 modules? You can. You can make every doorwell a doorway. You can choose between different types of doors. And this is going to blow your mind. When you place the opening between floors, you can have them just be a hole in the roof, so you can use your jetpack without having to orient yourself around some damn ladder. Yeah, it's not realistic, but oh my god, it's so much more convenient. The instructions on this mod page are mostly thorough, but one thing was missed. If you want to switch between forward back doors and side doors, they're not separate items. You just rotate the one item. Took me a bit to figure that one out, so I thought I'd add that. Lastly, ship builder tolerance tweaks just makes the item hitboxes a teeny bit more forgiving, letting you put stuff in more places. This one, pragmatically, doesn't change the game balance. You can always just put that doodad somewhere else. You wanted to put it there because that's where it looked cool, and giving you more leeway to make your ship look cool is pretty much what this mod does. I don't think I need to sell it better than that. Once you've done all that, clean ship HUD will unclutter your flight screen so you can see more of your beautiful behemoth. That's what we're here for, after all. As far as core gameplay stuff, I felt satisfied there. A small number of small tweaks can change the whole gameplay experience. I'm sated. Now, let's talk quality of life. Remember the first time Starfield was announced? Well, this isn't the trailer. This is my main menu. No info boxes or, well, anything other than the game. This is Cleanfield. And while it might not seem like much, it makes the whole experience feel a lot less amateur. It makes it seem like it was made by people who actually consider this medium an art. Modders. Let's also drop in Effect Textures Enhanced. This will improve things like muzzle flashes, projectile impacts, and fire. You can't view what a companion will look like in a costume until you get out of the menu? Well, Companion Previews deals with that. It's a small thing, but it's a nice thing. The menus aren't the quickest, and anything that saves you from going in and out of them is welcome. To that end, also toss in Undelayed Menus, which can't do anything about load or computation times, but can get rid of unnecessary animation transitions between menus. Yeah, they look nice, but I have more interesting things to do with my time. Speaking of wasting time, how about the artifact Puzzles? The fly to the shiny thing 30 times puzzle. Well, how about just the once, with short tempo puzzles? I bet you could slip this into someone's vanilla game without ever telling them and then remove it, and they'd think the vanilla version was the broken one. And next on the unnecessary minigame front, Easy Digipix doesn't let you unlock locks you don't have the skill for, but it does basically bypass the minigame. If you're new to Bethesda, this might sound like a cheat, but if you've been around since Oblivion, it's gotten old. This one's up to you, of course, none of the other mods depend on it, just your sanity. The last quality of life mod is probably the biggest slam dunk on the list. Show XP on loading screen does exactly what it says on the box. Can't imagine a reason why you wouldn't want that. I feel like I should say more about it, but well, there it is, doing its thing. Go get it. Usually in a Bethesda game, you'd need a dozen or so visual mods to get things looking right, but Starfield, well, it's not an ugly game. It's not groundbreaking or anything, but once you pull the LUTs I mentioned above, it looks, well, pretty good. I would like to point out that those awkward conversation angles, which actually worked in the Outer Worlds but felt really awkward in Starfield, you can turn them off now. If you do, when you chat with people, you'll just do it with the regular camera angle, and it's far, far cleaner. You don't need a mod for this. This is a vanilla option now. The mod you will want here is Hide Spacesuits. This lets you tweak when your spacesuit is shown. You can wear it all the time. You can choose to go au naturel in space. Or you can set it to a more immersive, wear it when I die without it, but otherwise don't. My personal favorite. To finish, I'm also running Trees Rescaled, which slightly increases the size of the foliage on the procedurally generated worlds. So, not in the cities. I had initially assumed it would be closer to some of the large tree mods for Skyrim, but as you can see here, it's much more subtle than that. Given the impossibly large size of Starfield, this is a practical compromise between improved and actually humanly possible. It's a welcome improvement towards making the lived-in worlds feel a little less barren. Starfield was always just a few bad decisions away from being a generally good game, and these mods really address the core of it. Of course, to get them to work, you'll need a few less glamorous but nonetheless very important things to get the whole package running. I'm going to make this last part a brief orientation into modding Starfield, including the more utility-oriented mods, but if you've modded Bethesda stuff before, consider this more of a refresher. If you just need a list of the utility mods, they're in the description. If you're new, the first 3 steps here are going to make this seem like it'll be a whole big thing, but believe me, it gets really straightforward really quickly. I'm going to assume that you have a basic understanding of the Windows file system and are running the Steam version of the game. Before we can get started, you'll need to fire up your original vanilla install of Starfield for the first time. If you already played it since you installed it, you're good. This will create a couple of the files that'll be needed for modding, and you'll need to tweak one of them. In your Documents, My Games, Starfield folder, find starfieldcustom.ini. If there isn't one, create a blank text file, usually with Notepad, and name it that. In there, paste the following. I'll put it in the description should you want to copy and paste. There are a lot of things that you can do with the custom ini file, but that's the bit that opens the game to modding. The next thing you'll need is a Nexus mods account. You don't have to link it to anything, but you'll have to cough up an email address. Tragic, I know. Nexus also maintains a mod management program called Vortex. It's not the only show on the block, but despite all the hate it gets, I've never had issues with it outside of it getting a bit confused when I try to drop Skyrim mods into Skyrim VR. All in all, it works, and it's pretty intuitive. If you have a preferred mod manager, go ahead and use that, but if not, you could do a lot worse than Vortex. Just be aware, you have to save Vortex on the same hard drive as the game for it to work. Next, you'll need to set up Starfield Script Extender. This is about the only thing Vortex isn't going to do for you. As of the date of this video, installing SFSE is as simple as placing some files in the Starfield folder. Since specifics can change, I'll defer you to the instructions on the Nexus page, although here they are as of the date of this video. As you can see, it's not going to leave you scratching your head. Create a shortcut for the SFSE loader, put it on your desktop, rename it Starfield or Launch Starfield or Nuclear Gnomes if it suits you, and from now on, this will be how you launch Starfield. Note you'll still have to launch Steam first. As long as that's open, you're good to go. Now it's shopping time, made much better by the fact that all this stuff is free. To find a mod, merely head to the Nexus, hit Starfield, and search the mod name. When you have it open, download it with Vortex, hit slow download or get a membership if you'd like, and associate the file type with Vortex the first time. Now Vortex will download it in the background while you go and pick the next 100 mods you're going to cram into the game. Again, if this comes off as a lot, once you've done it once, it'll be second nature. These instructions will be all reiterated at the bottom, just wanted to give them all in a nice concise place right here. First mods that you're going to download are those utility mods. Address lib, plugins.txt enabler, real-time form patcher, and the Starfield community patch. You don't really need to know what any of these do, and I'm proof of that. If you like, there's also a no XP steal fix, which means you don't have to tally 51% of the damage on an enemy to get XP for the kill. There's also character generator menu, or CareGen menu, which lets you save your presets as files on your hard drive. which means you can share your character presets and also download hundreds of them from the Nexus, like mine. Baka Achievement Enabler turns on achievements for modded games, which I personally don't really care about, and I kind of get why mods would disable achievements, but this mod also gets rid of the achievement warning when you open the tilde console, and I feel it's worth it just for that. After that, just download all the rest of the mods on the list below, or just some of them, whatever, and once you pick them all, head to Vortex. It'll let you know if it's done downloading them. Once it has, head to the mods page, and the right way to do this is to switch them from uninstalled to disabled one at a time. Then, once they're installed, you want to enable them, starting with just the utility ones, and only do a few at a time, firing up Starfield every 3 or 4 mods, just to make sure it all went well. Of course, here on this channel, I'm realistic about these things. We all know you're going to do exactly what I do. You're just going to turn them all on at once and cross your fingers. Heck, it usually works. But if it doesn't, well, turn them back off and do it properly. I do have one last suggestion. There's no hotkey to switch to fists by default in the base game, and no way to set one. If you want to level up those skills for whatever reason, there is a way to set hotkeys outside of the game. Remember that Starfield custom.ini? Well, add this line below the lines you already put there, also in the description. Now create a new text file and call it starfieldconsole.ini. You'll have to look up the console references to actions in order to add them here, but I'll get you started with the first one. In this case, Shift F will now equip fists. As I'm sure you'll guess, go ahead and change that Shift F to anything you'd like. Remember what I said about this just seeming complicated? I bet you're looking at what you just did there, and like I realized the first time I did it, you're actually seeing how that worked. So there it is, a playable Starfield. The Starfield that we were all hoping for. Well, okay, it's not quite that, but it's a decent enough play now. Or at least I hope it is for you. Because while it would have been great if we didn't have to do all this to get a great game, it's nice to know that now, at least, we can. I'll see you in the next one.